For someone like you, the most expensive mistake last year probably didn't feel expensive at all. It looked like a $549 purchase. It doesn't look like a dangerous purchase. It looks responsible. It looks like something a reasonable person buys for their health and their career. 2 months later, that same desk is often the only nice thing in a workspace that somehow feels worse than before. This isn't bad luck. This is how a normal decision quietly turns into a financial trap. Last year, the average American spent thousands of dollars on impulsive upgrades, and many of those purchases quietly stole tens of thousands of dollars from their future financial freedom. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how this trap actually works, and the math that proves a $549 desk didn't just cost $549. It costs something much bigger. It's 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. A laptop sits on a kitchen table. The chair is uncomfortable. The room is cluttered. After 9 hours of Zoom calls and spreadsheets, there's a familiar, heavy feeling. This setup isn't sustainable. Something needs to change. Something needs to feel more professional. The search begins, and there it is, the Apex standing desk. Walnut finish. Clean lines, on sale for $549. The justification is instant. It's for posture, for focus, for long-term productivity. A smart investment. The order goes through. For a moment, there's relief. Then the desk arrives. Once it's assembled, something feels off. The 5-year-old plastic chair suddenly looks wrong, cheap, out of place. So it gets replaced for $120 for a refurbished Herman Miller. The desk looks better now. But the cables don't. They clash with the clean surface. Another $85 fixes that. Next, the monitor. It looked fine yesterday. Now it looks grainy. Unprofessional. The solution is obvious: a 4K ultra-wide, $749. But that monitor needs a docking station powerful enough to run it. That's another $180. 2 months later, the original $549 purchase has quietly turned into a $2,433 overhaul. And now the lighting feels wrong. The shadows don't match the new aesthetic. This isn't impulsiveness, and it isn't a lack of discipline. It's a documented psychological chain reaction that's been observed for over 200 years. And mathematically, the cost wasn't $549. When you account for the cascade it triggered, the opportunity cost of that money, and the identity it created, that desk didn't cost $549. It cost over $6,000 of future freedom. That small, responsible purchase just fired your most productive employee, your compound interest. The standing desk wasn't the problem. The problem was what that one upgrade forced everything else to become. This pattern has a name, a structure, and a very precise mathematical cost. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. My name is Tom, and I spend way too much time obsessing over the invisible equations that keep most people stuck on the hamster wheel. If you're someone who looks at your paycheck and wonders where it all goes, or if you feel like you're working harder every single year but your bank balance never seems to actually go up, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, because this video might change everything. Because today we aren't talking about budgeting or cutting out lattes. We are talking about something much more insidious. We are talking about why upgrading your life is actually the most expensive hobby you can have, and the mathematical proof of why your brain is wired to keep you broke. Here's the fundamental lie we are all sold from the moment we enter the workforce. We are told that consumption is linear. Most people think that if you buy a $1,000 item, you are $1,000 poorer. Financial gurus tell you that the solution is discipline. They say things like just stick to your budget, as if your brain is a simple calculator that operates in a vacuum. But that advice ignores a fundamental psychological truth. Consumption is not linear. It is cohesive. This phenomenon is called the Diderot Effect. The concept comes from the 18th century French philosopher Denis Diderot. Diderot lived most of his life in relative poverty until 1765, when Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, heard of his financial struggles and bought his library, then paid him a massive salary to be the librarian. Suddenly, Diderot had money. He bought himself a gorgeous scarlet robe. But then things went wrong. In his famous essay, Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown, he explained that his beautiful new robe made the rest of his possessions look shabby. His old wooden table, it didn't match the robe. He replaced it with a costly marble one. His wall hangings, too frayed. He bought expensive Moroccan leather chairs. His prints, he swapped them for high-end paintings. He wrote, "I was absolute master of my old robe. I have become the slave of the new one." The theory goes like this: the introduction of a new possession that is out of sync with your current environment creates a spiral of consumption to reach a new level of unity. Take two people. Sarah makes $75,000 and lives in a modest apartment with mismatched furniture. She is consistent. Jim makes $150,000 but just bought a luxury SUV. The SUV makes his gym bag look old, his wardrobe feel cheap, and his vacations seem beneath his vehicle. Jim's Unity requires $140,000 of spending just to feel as balanced as Sarah does on $50,000. This is the math of being trapped. You are forced to pay a consistency premium on every single thing you own. You might be thinking, okay, Tom, that's a nice story about a French guy in a robe, but how does that apply to my actual life in 2024? Let's dig deeper into the actual math of the modern Diderot effect. Let's perform a brutal audit of a hypothetical character named Mark. Mark is a software sales rep making $115,000 a year. After taxes in a state like Colorado, he's taking home about $6,800 a month. That sounds respectable. He's middle class. But Mark decides to buy a new construction home. It's the smart move, right? Equity. The American dream. The house is $415,000. But before that house even hits his name, the Diderot effect starts its engine. Level 1, the aesthetic anchor. Mark moves in. His old couch, which was perfectly fine in his $800 a month rental, looks tiny in the new living room. He buys a sectional for $3,200. Let's do the math. To pay for that $3,200 couch out of post-tax income, Mark has to earn roughly $4,500 in gross wages. That's about 80 hours of Mark's life, 2 full work weeks for a place to sit. Level 2, the convenience spiral. The new house has a yard. Mark doesn't have a lawnmower. He buys a high-end electric mower for $600. Then he needs the trimmer, $200. Then he realizes he doesn't have time to mow, so he hires a service for $160 a month. That's $10,920 a year. Over 10 years, that yard has cost him $19,200 in fees alone, not counting the equipment. Level 3, the social consistency tax. Mark's new neighbors all have Trek mountain bikes in their garages. Mark has an old Huffy. To fit in during the neighborhood Saturday rides, Mark buys a $4,500 carbon fiber bike. But you can't put a $4,500 bike on a cheap rack. He buys a $700 Q hitch rack. Then he needs the $150 specialized shoes and the $120 jersey. Stay with me because we need to look at the real hourly wage. Mark thinks he makes $55 an hour, $115,000 slash 2,080 hours. But once you subtract his $2,800 mortgage, his $600 car payment, his $160 car payment, his $150 gym membership to look the part, and the $400 a month he spends on work clothes to maintain his image, Mark's actual disposable income is thinning out. When you factor in the shadow work, the hours spent researching the bike, the time spent cleaning the house, the mental energy spent managing the lawn crew, Mark's real hourly wage is closer to $18 an hour. Think about that. A 6-figure professional is working for the same real wage as a teenager at a fast food joint simply because he is servicing the Diderot effect of a high consumption lifestyle, not in value as a human being, but in actual purchasing power after all costs are paid. Let's do the math on the opportunity cost. Say Mark had avoided the spiral. Instead of the $3,200 couch, the $4,500 bike, and the $2,000 in yard gear, he invested that $9,700 into a simple S&P 500 index fund. If Mark is 35 and that money grows conservatively at 7 to 10% for 30 years until he's 65, historical average tilde 10% Nehung conservative distro realistic, that upgrade didn't cost him $9,000 to $100. It cost him $80,000 to $170,000. This is illustrative, only assumes no additional taxes, fees, or market risk. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Consult a financial advisor. That sectional sofa literally cost him up to 6 figures in retirement liquidity. Let that sink in. Mark is quietly drinking his retirement one matching set at a time, just like Diderot became slave to his new robe. Compare Mark to Sarah, who kept her mismatched life. Sarah has $100,000 in liquidity. Who is Cypher? Who has more options when the company announces restructuring? The answer is obvious in hindsight. Sarah has FU money. Mark has a walnut desk and a carbon fiber bike he's too stressed to ride. And look, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Tom, just don't buy the stuff. Just be more disciplined. And theoretically, yes, you are right. But psychology plays a massive role here that we cannot ignore. This isn't your faulty, it's how our brains are wired in a consumer system. There's a well-documented psychological mechanism around identity consistency. Humans feel discomfort when their environment contradicts how they see themselves. Humans crave an external world that matches our internal self-image. If you see yourself as a successful executive, your brain creates physical discomfort. Cognitive dissonance When you drive a car with a dented bumper, studies from Harvard on scarcity mindset have shown that when you are under financial stress, your functional IQ can temporarily drop by about 13 points. That is the equivalent of missing a full night of sleep. Recent peer-reviewed research in 2025 has shown that higher materialism strengthens the Diderot effect and impulsive buying behavior. This is why people in the middle-class trap often make decisions that look stupid to outsiders. They buy a $200 iPhone on a payment plan while their credit card has a $5,000 balance. It's not because they're dumb, it's because their cognitive bandwidth is maxed out just trying to survive the social pressure of their environment. They are buying identity insurance, they are spending money they don't have to convince themselves and others that they aren't drowning. The system relies on your exhaustion. Companies bank on your Diderot triggers. They don't just want to sell you a phone, they want to sell you the ecosystem that they want you to think that pro devices require pro accessories. They budget for your inability to say no to a matching set. Now, I can hear the objections already, but Tom, I actually need a good desk for my back. Or if I don't look professional, I won't get the promotion. And look, I get it. We live in a society that judges us by our covers. But remember, in the mismatched scenario, you have liquidity. That liquidity is your real risk mitigation. A professional outfit might get you a 5% raise, but a $50,000 emergency fund gives you the power to quit a toxic job entirely. This journey is unfair. I won't lie to you and say it's an even playing field. It takes 3 times as much effort to break the spiral as it does to fall into it. The wind is in your face at the start, but once you understand that your need for matching furniture is a mathematical penalty, you can stop blaming yourself for being materialistic and start attacking the system of consistency itself. So what is the solution? How do we break this equation? The answer is not necessarily to live in a dark room with a sleeping bag. We have to be realistic. We have bills. The solution is to build Diderot firewalls. This becomes the new metric for your success. Not the quality of your things, but the margin of your life. You have to start treating your life like a business. A smart business owner doesn't just try to increase revenue. They try to increase margin. Your margin is the gap between your real hourly wage and your cost of existence. If you're making $150,000, but you're spending $145,000 to maintain the image, you are a high churn, low margin business. You are one bad Tuesday away from bankruptcy. You are effectively Enron. But if you make $80,000 and spend $50,000 because you don't care if your chair matches your desk, you are a highly profitable, robust enterprise. You're winning. This isn't about willpower, and it's not a personality flaw. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned once you see the system clearly. Strategy 1, the 72-hour quarantine. Before any purchase over $100, you must wait 72 hours. This allows the dopamine spike to subside and gives your identity time to detach from the object. Ask yourself, does this purchase require a second purchase to look right? If the answer is yes, the real price tag is 3 times the sticker price. Strategy 2, ruthlessly optimize real hourly wage. Calculate what you actually make after the costs of working are subtracted. Commute, clothes, convenience meals, decompression, happy hours. If a new purchase costs 50 hours of real wage time, ask, is this object worth 50 hours of my life? Usually, the answer is no. Strategy 3, strategic mismatching. This is the identity reframe. Start taking pride in the mismatch. Own a $5,000 computer, but keep it on a $20 thrift store desk. Drive a 10-year-old car, but have a maxed out 401k. Breaking the cohesive set is the ultimate power move because it proves you are not a slave to the unity of your possessions. Strategy 4, no buy year rule. Commit to a period like a year where you avoid non-essential purchases entirely to reset your consumption habits. Strategy 5, own in, one out. For every new item you bring in, remove an old one to prevent accumulation and maintain balance. Your homework assignment, I want you to sit down this weekend, not when you are tired on a Friday night, but when you are fresh on Saturday morning, and perform a system audit. 1. Look at the last 3 major things you bought $200 or more. 2. List every secondary purchase you made because of them: cases, batteries, matching items, maintenance. 3. Calculate the total system cost. Write that number on a sticky note and put it on your credit card. The next time you see a sleek upgrade, look at that number. Ask yourself, am I buying a product or am I starting a landslide? That friction will save you more money than any budget app ever could. We are living in an era where optionality is the ultimate currency. The rich are buying time and assets. The middle class is being sold unity and ecosystems at a discount. Don't sell your future freedom for a matching set of walnut furniture. Audit your life. Cut the vampire costs. Start building a gap between your income and your expenses, because that gap is where your freedom lives. You buy the boots that last, you buy the freedom to say no to the bad loan, and eventually you walk right out of the hole. Don't buy the rope. If you want more conversations like this, grounded, uncomfortable, and actually useful, you know what to do. Share with that coworker who always looks quietly exhausted. They need this more than another motivational fluff. Comment below right now, what's your biggest Diderot trigger lately? The desk, the phone ecosystem, the dream home upgrade? Be honest, no shame here. The more we name it, the less power it has. And subscribe, because we're going to keep exposing these invisible equations until your margin grows, your stress drops, and your freedom feels real again. Thanks for watching. Don't buy the robe, build the firewalls instead. Calculate your real wage, start tonight. Disclaimer, this video is for educational and informational purposes only. The scenarios described are composite avatars and do not represent specific individuals. This content does not constitute financial, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional for your unique circumstances.